What if you were a military general and you discovered that the world was going to experience a catastrophic disaster, and in the next 4 hours, most of the world, everybody would be dead. And you pick up a phone and you call the one you love, your wife, your 2 children, and you tell them, get out, go, run. You know the plan, go. This is a premise for a movie that I was working on as a scriptwriter. And it occurred to me that this situation might really happen. And there might really be a place in the world where this really could happen. So I went looking for it. I went west of west. There is a place called Adak, Alaska. During World War II, the Americans occupied it. They built a base, and in it, they put 150,000 soldiers. They built tunnels. They built massive military structures, and from it they invaded Japan many times. This is Adak, and I went there. There's only one flight in. It takes you there for 7 days, and there's only one flight out. After World War II, during the Cold War, they built silos and underground tunnels, many underground tunnels that go deep. And they put nuclear missiles there and submarines that fired nuclear missiles. Well, they tested them at least. And I went there. I went there to meet the people who are still living there, because they closed it down after the Cold War. And now, only 50 people live there. It is the largest ghost town in the world. And I met this man. His name is Tim. He, in the morning, dives with these big vacuum-sucking tubes to scoop out the harbor, because fishing is the last thing that's left there. That's what he does in the morning. In the afternoon, he crawls on his belly, because while the military were there, they bombarded the island for test practice and shelled it. And there's still a whole bunch of unexploded ammunition there on the island. And they pay him a lot of money to crawl on his belly and deactivate those explosives. They put caribou on that island to feed the men. It was the source of food. And sometimes those caribou wander into those fields and die. And Tim took me into the tunnels. He took me across this frozen tundra where all that is left is these radar equipment, these discs, these things, that antenna that reach out to the universe, listening. When you go into these tunnels, there's miles upon miles of empty offices. There's a quality of life suggestion box. I thought that was interesting. When you go deep, you always have to have a way out. And there were these hatches that reached up to the sky, and this was about 100 feet down. This was the way that they would escape if there was no other way out. We kind of got our last look of light as we went past these escape hatches. It was cold, very cold. Nothing grows there. Everything has to be brought in. The one place that we stayed in, It was just one grocery store, restaurant, pub, everything. It was the only thing there where you could get food. Everything has to be flown in. And as I left civilization, I began to change. These are radiation chambers. If you got nuclear poisoning or whatever, you'd have to go in this and take your clothes off and hang it up on the rungs. These were right outside the barracks where the soldiers would stay in case of nuclear disaster. This is their beds. They would pack 30 people into these cubicles. The walls were thick, thick, thick cement. At this point, it took us about an hour and a half walking downward most of the time to get to this place. This is Command Central. It's where all the soldiers sit and are debriefed and told what's going to happen. This is a real place. This was the first line of defense for this great country in Adak, Alaska. This place changed me because it represented so many different conflicts, so many different places, and yet there was still human life here. Even in the 50 people that I met, they asked me so many questions, and they were normal. They loved their children. They had schools. I was there for prom. And it inspired me. I highly recommend it. If you get the chance, take a flight and go west of West.